does not fall on David, but instead falls on Joab. Now, the question is, what does all of this mean for us today? Right? Now you hopefully have a sense of the story. What in the world does that say to us today? Here's the first thing. God works through social structures, through people, through circumstances that a lot of us would look at and say, there's no way God can do anything with that. God is working here through betrayal, through sexual accusations. He's working through murder. He's working through all of that. He doesn't look down on this and say, I can't deal with any of that. I need the people to clean up their act a little bit. Then I'll come down. Then I'll help them out. No, God looks down. He enters into the worst kinds of messes in order to bring about His kingdom. And I think that's just as true for us today. We sometimes do get discouraged when we look around. We see what's happening. We see how things are going. And it's easy for us to get discouraged. We can even get cynical sometimes. But listen, never forget that God can work through the least perfect situations, through the most broken circumstances, through the most broken human beings. And He can and He will accomplish His purposes. Now, we need to be careful to understand that doesn't mean things are always going to turn out the way we want. It means that God's kingdom, His purposes, His reign, His authority will advance no matter what. A good example of this is what's happening right now in Iran. Right now, in Iran, there is the largest number of people who are converting to Christ than any other time in recent history. Now, this is Iran. This is not a place known for religious tolerance or religious acceptance. But many of the people, Muslims who were born and raised as Muslims, are coming to Christ in remarkable numbers. Who would have ever thought that? Well, it's happening. And that sort of story is repeated throughout the world. In China, my goodness, the church in China has grown in dramatic fashion, underground, in places sort of there's still danger. There's still very significant danger. You'd look at that and you say, well, the church is dead there. It can't. No. God's church and His kingdom advances. Right now in Russia, there are the Russian government is cracking down on religious freedom presently. Public evangelism has been outlawed in Russia. Now that's not a good thing. We have reason to be concerned for that. And yet we can still look at that and say, God's going to work through all of that. God can work through all of that to advance His kingdom in ways that will astound us. God works through all of this. And if we need proof of that, if we need any further assurance of that, then we need only look at the work and the ministry of our Lord Jesus Christ. Here Jesus